Okay, so we're about to do a unplugged performance lift kit on this Tesla Model Y. So we start by getting it on the lift. Open the front lid, open the rear lid, get the car open up, ready to go. You may think you need to pull out that front bucket, but you do not have to all the time. You want to remove this section that it just snaps in. So that'll be the first step. So that piece is loose. The next step will be to put the car on the lift or on suitable jack stands. The lift's going to work much better. So if you don't have a lift, you may want to find the one you can use. So let me get this racked up and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so the next thing you want to do before you lift it, go ahead and measure your distance from here to the ground. I've already done this. These all four are 30 inches. Next thing you want to do is go ahead and get all your stuff out and make sure you have everything you need. Remove the plastic cover for the lower control arm, which is just this one bolt right here, and then it comes down, and then you're going to start removing the underbody panels that need to come off in order to do the job. So now that it no longer looks like this with its stamped steel control arm, now it has this nice machined aluminum unit from Unplugged Performance. And so now we're going to go ahead and get the shocks in place, get this other arm in place, and then move on and do the front. Alright, so here we are back with the Tesla again. We have this tow arm mounted. We have the Unplugged Performance lower control arm and spring. The next thing we're going to put in is this shock absorber, and we'll be doing the same thing on the other side. We'll probably just be showing just one side and then the finished product once we're all done. I don't think you have to see duplicates of everything. So I will show the process of putting the lower control arm on the other side. I'll get this shock put in. This is pretty simple to do. Of course, you know, there's one bolt on the bottom. There's going to be two bolts to hold the mount on the top here behind the fender liner. So just two of those bolts there on that cup. And then one center bolt in the cup. So we'll swap those out and then move on and do the other side. The goal for this Tesla, for the owner of it, is to go up about 2 inches from stock. So when we started off, we had about 30 inches of height to here at the top of the fender on all four corners. So hopefully by the time we're done here, we'll have about 32 inches, and we'll have a little bit more fender gap, a little more ground clearance. So here we have it. One side of the rear is finished. Mostly, we have the new shock in place. We've adjusted it to where it's just barely bottoms out before the spring hits the end of its travel. I may still have to adjust it some more after, but as you can see, there's the original side. Here is the new side with the unplugged performance lower arm shock, spring, and the tow arm are all installed. So now we're going to move on and do the other side of the rear, and then move on to the front. We've also got skid plates to put on under here too that will protect both motors. So as we do this, we'll switch from time lapse to regular video just to save time, and I'll tell you any important steps. So now what we're doing is taking these adjustable shock bodies, taking a measurement. I'm going to make sure both sides are the same. The other side is sitting at 21.5 centimeters to this collar. So this one has to come down more. We are 21.5 centimeters because that's the first number that really lines up. So we'll go ahead and lock the collar, kind of get that other shock out of there, swap over the top, put this one back in. So here we have it, tow arm installed. We still have the camber arm to do. It's not here yet. We do have the new lower control arms and these shocks installed here on the rear. They do look very good. The next thing we're going to be doing is installing these upper arms and these struts and those springs. So the next thing to do is go ahead and remove this from the vehicle. We'll have to swap over the tops. So we'll get that going, and we'll work on a time lapse for that and get it all put together so you can see how this works. All right, so the bolts for the lower part of the suspension for the strut are taken loose. The next thing we're going to have to do is take out the sway bar link and this pinch bolt here. We're also replacing the upper arms, so we're going to have to get that bolt and that bolt out. So once we do that, we can remove this upper arm, let this hang out. Also, we got to take the nut for the axle loose so we don't end up damaging a joint. Once that's all loose, this arm is out, then we can take out the top bolts for the strut, remove the strut, and put the top hat onto that unit, make some adjustments, and then put it back in. So we'll get on that right now. One of the things I'd like to say about this car is, well, obviously this is a Tesla, and you see anywhere where there are orange cables, those are high voltage. So if you are going to attempt this, this is actually really safe to work on as far as suspension goes. But anywhere where you see these orange wires, don't mess with them unless you know what you're doing, or unless you're a firefighter and you need to put one out or power it down. That's what this is for right here. See, it's got the little fire helmet and the pair of scissors on it, or the snips. That's where, if you're trying to cut the power to the car, that's the wire you cut. And that's what that's there for. Most all electric vehicles will have that somewhere on the car. Unfortunately, it's not a uniform thing. So, but anyway, back to the suspension. Now, in order to do this upper control arm, these bolts back here, they're accessible from underneath the car, but they're quite long and they're not going to come out. So, this whole upper plate has to get dropped in order to do this. So we're going to let the car back down, pull this whole upper plate off, and then replace that upper control arm. So this may not look like a proper spring compressor, but it's actually a very well-made spring compressor. So what I'm going to do here is go ahead and break loose the top nut and then compress the spring once the nuts broke loose. The tension's already slightly set, so once that gets going, the spring's not going anywhere. So I'm going to go ahead and break that loose and then take the spring off and swap over the top hat for the new strut. So there we are, front strut, new upper arm, all installed on one side of the car. Now we'll move on and do the other. All right, here we go. This is about to go back on the ground. Everything's still kind of loose. So we're just going to do a quick test fit and see where it's at. All right, so as it sits, our front is about 31 and a half, so we need to raise the front about a half an inch. The back end needs to come up another inch and a half. So here we are, we're gonna do some adjustments and then come back and do this again. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is do a little bit of adjusting here and get just a little bit more of a preload on these struts. So I'm gonna get that done, then we're gonna check a ride height. I have to move these collars up about 3/4 of an inch to get it right where I want it. So let me do that, and then we'll check the ride height again.